Welcome to the show where we dive deep into the stories behind the most creative and courageous minds in hospitality, travel, and lifestyle design. In today's episode, I'm joined by Eamon Heggarty, the founder of Coorie Retreats, a beautiful design-led glamping brand that proves you don't need deep pockets or decades of experience to build something extraordinary. We talk about how they launched their first site with a limited hospitality background and funds, the creative way they financed and designed each space, and how storytelling and social media helped them grow a loyal following. We'll also explore their upcoming expansions, plus the innovation behind their new flotation tubs, a unique feature that's become a guest favourite and a social media sensation. If you've ever dreamed about starting your own glamping or retreat business, or if you just love hearing how passion, design, and grit can turn a vision into reality, this episode is for you. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley, and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome, this is the business of glamping and unique holiday rentals. Before we start with the episode, I want to share something with you. For years, I've been guiding people to launch and grow their own unique glamping businesses and transformational retreat events. And honestly, I've lost count of the number of times someone said to me, "This is great, but can you just do it for me?" For a long time, my answer has been no, but not anymore. Now I've built a team, a hand-picked collective of trusted creative experts who understand our industry. We've come together to offer done-for-you marketing and business support, so you can stop carrying it all on your own and start focusing on what you love most, creating beautiful experiences and lifelong memories for your guests. Because let's be honest, until now your team has been you, and that's just not enough. You wear all the hats, manage all the customers, and still need to figure out the ever-changing world of marketing. Bookings dip, algorithms shift, competition gets fierce. You become less visible, and it feels like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. But now you can expand your team without having to expand your payroll and finally get the help you need to take the pressure off and move forward. To find out more about the team you've always wanted but never had, head over to inspiredcourses.com/team and learn about what Inspired Collective offers. And let's get some of those to-dos off your plate. But be aware that we only have capacity to work with a handful of people, so if you're interested, be sure to get in touch. All right, back to the episode. So Eamon, it's just so wonderful to have you on the show today. I'm really excited because we had some earlier correspondence about something that I know others are going to want to hear about, which is a different kind of, something that could replace the hot tub, let's say, but it's healthier, better for the environment, and maybe I'm grasping at straws, might be less regulations around it. But anyway, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first of all, I'm really interested in your business. So tell me a little bit about that, where you are and what you've got for your guests.
Look, thanks for having me on. Really excited. And yeah, great to meet you as well. Just at one point in time, very recently, it was quick for change. But yes, we started Coorie Retreats nearly 3 years ago. The idea came up, it was August 2022. And there was a lot of regulations in the sort of service accommodation industry, which I sort of was dipping my toe into at the time. And from that, I realized that with all the councils sort of shutting down service accommodation properties, it wasn't really somewhere that I wanted to go. And at the time, I was working a full-time job as a quantity surveyor, and I just knew that wasn't for me. And I sort of loved hospitality, design, construction, and sort of on my own terms, if I could do it that way. So from that, I came up with the idea to look into glamping sites, which I've seen were on the up, and it was a great experience. I actually proposed to my now wife in a glamping pod for the first time when I went to go to one. Was it March? Okay, better get the date right.
Yes.
March 14th, 2020. So just before COVID, but that was in the glamping pod in the north of Scotland, and just absolutely loved it with a hot tub. It was over a river, just a great setting, and just sort of reconnects with nature. So that was a couple of years prior to coming up with the idea. And yeah, from then just found a piece of land, quite a cheap piece of land, and then just sort of built it all out with the sort of construction background. I tried to just do as much as I could also whilst working the main job. And then lucky enough, about a year and a half ago, I left my main job, and the site was up and running about 6 months. I could just see it doing so well. So I left that, and here we are today. I've got 6 units on site, 2 are geodomes, 4 are cabins, and all have their own hot tubs and outdoor projector screens with barbecue fire pits and everything that sort of guests want. And so far, so good.
So tell me a little bit about the area that you're located. So why do people want to visit that area? What's there for them, and what kind of things can they put into their day?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So the area, it's in a wee place called Port Patrick, which is in the very southwest of Scotland, and it's probably the most unvisited area of Scotland. It's if you're coming up from England, you're not really going to go direct west. You're going to just continue on up to Glasgow and then up to the Highlands. So it's sort of got its own sort of unique selling point that there's not much in that area. Not many people have travelled there, so they like to go down, and it's just quaint wee villages and towns. Like Port Patrick is oyster, the UK, I think it's European Oyster Festival there every year, and it's got lovely wee harbour and lovely walks and castles, and it's also got the Black Forest, which is I think one of the best places in the UK to do stargazing. There's very, very little light pollution, so it's got quite a lot of things going for it, but it's just not a well-traveled or documented place due to obviously the Highlands being so popular that people just go directly up there. But we can get it's about an hour and 50-minute drive from Glasgow, maybe 2.5 hours from Edinburgh, and I've had people from sort of all around the UK now come and visit, and so far so good. Everyone's very surprised in a way about the area, because again, it's not documented that well. But once you get in and you see things, and the walks you can do, it's very, very popular. And Coorie Retreats being there is now sort of like the destination to go in sort of that area, and we're bringing quite a lot of tourists to Port Patrick and Stranraer, which is the bigger town a few miles away. And yeah, hopefully, if people are listening or been, I'm hoping they can agree.
I think it's interesting how some areas don't have the natural footfall of tourism that it deserves. And often, I hear people in the industry saying, oh, no, 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 you shouldn't set up there because there's not enough footfall. There's not enough industry. There's not enough tourism. So it wouldn't work. Whereas actually, there's enough there to attract the tourists. There's enough there to give them stuff to do. It's just about encouraging them and helping educate them of these new areas that suddenly become this undiscovered part of the country. And so many times I've seen this happen where a very unique tourism business, just purely because it's so unique, has been enough to act almost as a beacon to attract attention for the tourist into that area. And the whole area has benefited from more visitors because of that. So I think this is where glamping really does stand head and shoulders above lots of other forms of tourism so often, because it almost educates, the tourist about all of those amazing places that you can go to low season, off season, off the beaten track, because there's great things there. We just don't know about it. We just need to be educated. And I suppose that's what a business's, social media posts and everything else that it shares amongst its own customers can really help with in an area. It's kind of bigger than the business itself, almost. So what was it? So you obviously proposed to your wife, and well done for remembering the date. You've got some husband brownie points there.
I'll make sure
And
she listens to this afterwards.
but what is it what is it about the act of glamping that made you get into glamping? I mean, there were obviously other aspects, but what was it specifically about the act of glamping? Have you been an avid outdoorsman? Have you been very much into camping and being outside? Have you always visited hotels but hated them? I mean, what made you want to get into the act of glamping and
Yeah,
offering?
it's a great question. I mean, it's I think when I first ever went glamping, I'm very much like experience based. I just love doing different experiences, no matter what it is. And glamping was a new experience, and I just absolutely loved it. It's something that I think I've said to a few people before. You can go to any hotel in the world, and you can only get a balcony so big. But if you go glamping, that is your balcony, like the outdoors. So it's such a big sort of pull, and it's such a good experience because your outdoors is ever changing. If you're in glamping, a view is obviously ever changing if you're in a hotel, but you've only got a certain space. And if you go to a glamping site, typically, if you get more and more experiences added onto it, like the site I've created, it's everything I love and everything I feel like sites need to have these days and trying to aspire to have and trying to keep guests coming back because that is the destination. So like having hot tubs and pizza ovens, fire pits, things within the cabins as well, like high spec finishes. So it's all of that combined is what sort of got me into it, and it'll stand the test of time. And yeah, I mean it's all about experiences for me. And I guess it's sort of that's what I've got, and then that sort of leads me on to the wellness area that I've built on site. Again, that's an experience, and from my own sort of vision of how that could play out, and it's all about the guests staying in the site, staying in the area with Patrick and enjoying as much as they can and not travel too far from where they're based. And it's just, yeah, I've just fallen in love with it, and it's a great industry, and I can see how many more people are sort of getting into it, but the levels just getting better and better. Like Airbnb 10 years ago was somebody's or somebody's spare bedroom. Now it's hotel standards are bigger. I think Glamping's going along the same lines. It was odd in the field. Now it has to be a very, very high spec unit and with a lot of amenities and things also on site, like a spa or a sauna or a salt rotation bath. And yeah, that's where I'm at, and I think it will continue well.
I think this is the thing, isn't it? That it's the experiential hospitality business. So it's all about the experience. And way back in the day, the first days of glamping, when it really started taking off in the UK in about 2010, 2011. And it was certainly 2010 was when I first got involved in the industry beyond what I was doing before, which was boutique hospitality. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, the structures, they're amazing, and all these different structures, and they're incredible. And that was part of the experience, wasn't it? But now we're moving into a very much more mature industry. The structures aren't the only part of the experience anymore. So we need to be thinking as business owners, what else can we put on that is the experience? So obviously there's the experience of what's naturally in your local area, the flora, the fauna, the natural things to look at, the views, the vistas, the walks, whatever it might be. But people want things to do literally as they step outside the door. And they want to have something which is much more focused on wellness, well-being, and reducing their stress and everything else. And I'm well into that because I've been supporting people to run retreats for many years now and doing some of my own. But I'm really interested in how this is suddenly becoming something more of a focus to a lot of forward-thinking glamping business owners such as yourself, who are thinking, okay, how can I make my business last longer, and how can I make my services seem more attractive for longer, and how can I keep my customers coming back over and over again, get those repeats going? So is that another, or are those various reasons why you decided to put your wellness element onto your business?
Yeah, the wellness element was definitely, even from the get-go, it's something that I planned to have. I think the design initially had just a sauna pod at the time, and I knew that that's what people wanted, and that's the way people are moving towards. Like again, even speaking 10 years ago, like the people at uni used to go out all the time. Now I know friends that were at uni there recently, that all they've got to go is run clubs and wellness and saunas. So it's definitely changing landscape. So adding that to the site, a lot of people that have stayed and haven't had the experience going back will keep bookings coming in, haven't came yet. Again, to me, it's all just about creating these stays where you really do remember it in like 2 or 3 years' time and think, what a good time I've had. And it wasn't just sitting inside one wee cabin and maybe looking out the landscape, which isn't bad, but it's to me, it's just about giving them a lot of things to do on site. And I think it was about a year ago. No, it was more than a year ago. I was told by a marketing lady who owns a marketing company that the number one search term in Scotland for people abroad is where can I see Highland cows? So off the back of that, I thought I sort of light bulb going. There was a Highland cow farm about 30 miles away, and I spoke to the owner and said, "Can I buy 2 Highland cows? Because I'd love to have them on our site." And he was like, "Yeah, why not?" And yeah, well, a month or two's work fencing, and they had a natural stream already there, so it was a perfect site for it. 200 cars and had guests going a giveaway to name them, and sort of just brought everyone in that sort of journey and experience with us. And we built them a wee house, and they've got name plaques above it and all this type of stuff. So it's really been quite popular. And just again, it's every guest that comes and stays, no matter how many nights, we always give them like a wee brush and some cow feed, and we have a wee story about Angus and Winston, the two cows, and where they're from and how they got here, and people go up and just love it. So yeah, again, albeit it's somewhat of an experience. Not many people have met Highland cows. To me, that's an experience, and people just love it. So it's something I sort of seen, had a like a moment, and thought that's what I think the site would benefit from and guests would benefit from. And I think they're great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head there. It's like not necessarily you, Eamon, thinking this is what I want to give my guests. You actually took it from the other angle, which is what do my guests want? What are they really looking for? Who is my ideal guest? And all the different things involved in that. For every guest segment, they're all different. They all want different things. So I often say to people, when you're setting up your business, think about very clearly who do you want to attract and offer them what they want, because that's who you want to bring into your site. You could try to be everything to everyone, but then you'll end up being nothing to no one. So the best thing is to really focus in on what do your specific ideal guests want. So that's really interesting you said about that. So you're trying to attract maybe more foreign guests. So is that one segment you're particularly focused on?
It's probably that's where the information came from. It's something we don't really get too much. Again, Port Patrick isn't for people from 50 miles away might not even know where Port Patrick is. So I don't think Americans or anyone abroad would know where they're from. It'd be a different story if I was up obviously in the Highlands or over near St Andrews, for example. But it's more locals that seem to come to our site, 98, 99%. There's no airports. There's a boat across from Ireland that we might get a couple of Irish people. But yeah, it's more targeted locals, and I'm happy with that in terms of can't see that changing too much. But I think people who come, it's just about giving them that experience and keeping it fresh. Like I was planning in for 3 more units at the minute, and I'm very big on trying now to do like different styles of units, which again, people that might have stayed could come back and try a different style. It might be an A-frame, it might be, something like something underground, an underground unit built in. But it's another experience, something that they've maybe never done. And from a business standpoint, I can market that, which our site is doing really well in terms of social media aspect and presence, and yeah, pushing that quite hard in terms of just guest interactions. You have your different platforms, and each platform has its own sort of range of what way you should do it. Like TikTok has its more like in-person interviews or behind the scenes with the staff. Instagram's a wee bit more polished, and then Facebook is more like basic with photos. So yeah, there's a lot there, and that's what sort of my day to day is at the minute. Is trying to keep on top of that and figure out another way to get guests to come back and keep the experiences at the forefront.
The social media audience loves glamping. It
Oh
really
yeah,
does.
they
I
love it.
love it. Which is great, it's lovely that
Yeah,
it's so natural for people to want to share something connected to a business. I mean, not every business model is able to have that bonus. I mean, and
no,
we're very, very lucky in the glamping industry. I mean, recently I've been very pleased to be speaking to people who've found businesses that provide mirrored domes and mirrored cabins and underground structures and trains, repurposed trains. I mean, just what you can do is just endless and fascinating and really interesting and also just gives the most amazing guest experience.
yeah,
Uh,
that's it.
just in the structure. But as we said, the structures do get tired and people do move on and they change their tastes and they decide maybe something that was very popular 10 years ago suddenly isn't quite so popular. So there are other ways to add interest to what you're doing in your services. And we've talked a bit about what you're doing with your, I suppose, for better word, would you call it a spa or a wellness? Is it a spa?
Wellness area. Yeah, it's pretty cool spa we've called it, but yeah, in the same sort of breath, it's like a wellness area. And yeah, it's a an area on site that's private to the guests. Um, and guests would just book in an hour slot. You get an allocated time. You go down in your robe and you open the door and it closes behind you, and no one else can get in. And you have your sauna infrared room, which is sort of this dark room with red light therapy and with heated lamps. And the cold plunge, a regulated cold plunge, and then an outdoor warm shower, and then the salt flotation bath. And that salt flotation bath is being sort of a bit of a challenge because I don't know anyone else that's done it. I've seen the ones where they're like convenient pods where you can sit in individually, but we came up with the idea of buying, so our hot tubs have these automatic feeders from pellets, so they're wood burning hot tubs, all of our hot tubs, and the feeder we could take out and essentially make our own outdoor hot tub, which is a 2 by 2 meter salt flotation bath because that needs to be a hot tub temperature. And so it's all been sort of very bespoke and handmade, and surprisingly works. So people do float in it. And it's great. It really is.
So tell me a little bit about that because there are a lot of regulations around hot tubs, and I don't think everyone who's getting into the industry when they're new really realize how many regulations there are
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
hot tubs. We won't get into that, but it's worth flagging that because people do need to be aware of it. But there's no doubt that it is a guest magnet. People want to go where there's hot tubs, and I can totally understand that. But personally, I prefer salt rather than chemicals. I often call hot tubs like chemical soup for
Oh
me,
yes.
the way I think about it, because I'm more of a natural swimmer. I live by the sea. I love being in the sea. I'm very aware of the body's natural chemistry because I'm a trained health coach and I have some training in it, but also because I love the fact that when I jump in the sea, it just makes me feel so much better. And the body is majority made up of salt. So it loves the sea and it kind of almost equalizes or brings it to a balance by jumping in the sea. So I can really understand why being in a floating hot tub a floating hot tub, it's not a hot tub, a floating pool, spa, whatever you want to call it, can
Yeah.
be really, really relaxing for a start,
Mhm.
but also have a heap of health benefits. But how do you maintain it? Because I can imagine that actually the amount of salt that you must put into it must be a huge amount. And how do you maintain that? How do you kind of keep it safe?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely got its challenges. It is more or less a very, very large hot tub, albeit the water level doesn't need to be that high. It only needs to be around 30 to 40 centimeters high, um, which is obviously different to a 1,000 meter hot tub, which needs filled up. But it's for every 1,000 liters, it's 350 kilograms of salt thereabouts. There's an instrument you can use that tells you the density of the salt in within the water. So we try and use Epsom salt, which has its own health benefits, as you may know, which is great. And we sort of asked guests to shower before and after, because it is an incredible amount of salt on your body after it. And you could see people that if they touch something, or I've had people go into the sauna and they can people accidentally putting salt water from even though there was a bucket there, the water from the salt back onto the sauna stones, and it was the amount of salt obviously drying up after was incredible. But yeah, it's regulated like a hot tub, and it's an experience. It's like no other. If you're lying there like the Dead Sea, and very relaxing, as you say, and it gets cleaned daily. We have the dipsticks, the same setup as the hot tubs, but the salt cleans itself. The water is self-regulating, so it doesn't need emptied as much as a hot tub may. After every change, you would maybe change the hot tub. But this lasts maybe 5 to 6 days. But everyone's typically showering before and after as well, so it's a lot cleaner, and all the readings are coming up great. We use an external company as well to do all those, as well as the hot tubs. So yeah, it comes with its challenges, but we have a maintenance team on site that strips out any reliefs, because it's open to the elements. It's covered, but it's not covered at the side, because you sort of want to have that outdoor-indoor feeling. And it's got a cover just to keep in the heat. And as I say, yeah, it's powered by pellets, wood, so it's pretty great for the environment instead of an electrical one. And yeah, so far so good. And from a guest standpoint, it's just been a big hit.
Mm. And I imagine that all of your guests sleep like a log, because Epsom salts are full of magnesium, which is what you need for good sleep. So that's a bonus, isn't it?
Well, they're not texting us anyway, so they must be sleeping.
So also a bonus for you as well, because you've got
Yeah.
quiet guests. I think that's really incredible to think differently about providing something that the guests want, but doing it in a slightly different way, which makes you stand out differently. But also, I can imagine that people who would come to you and they'd have the experience of staying in your cabins and all of that good stuff, but they can also book the spa and they can stay in it, and then it gives them this experience and feeling of well-being. So there's no doubt that when they leave, they're going to want to come back again. So it's going to become a regular thing in their calendar to say, I think we're due a trip now to Coorie Retreats. So it's something I think that really does help with that repeat guest booking element, but people feeling a little bit more like they would in a spa experience. And so is there anything else that you've been thinking of to boost your spa experience, with maybe providing massages or getting external providers of massages to come in and things like that? Is there anything you're thinking along those lines?
There's a couple of things that I was thinking of adding. Well, we have there's enough, there isn't enough space to have maybe somebody come in, and we would need to do, you could do it outdoors, you could do it in an infrared room with like a massage treatment, and it could be burnt externally. And to be honest, it's just been that for long recently that I haven't had the time to sort of look at that in the area. What I have been toying with the idea of is opening it to the public, and but only for a block set for people in the Port Patrick Stranraer area who would like to come and sort of use that facility, because typically they're not going to go stay on the units or the cabins or the geodomes just because they live so close. But they could maybe get use of the spa element on like a monthly membership, which I'm thinking about. And that would mean that they could come between the times that guests typically wouldn't use it, and have like a 3 hour block period very early in the morning before work, and after work late at night. And then guests can have their hour slot within that. And I think that would be quite a good way to sort of bring in the sort of local community and have their buy-in on it as well. And I think it sort of deserves that. I initially had the idea of just having it exclusive to guests on site, but I think when it's up and running and it's hot all day and it's just sitting there and sometimes not used as much as it could be, it'd be great just to have it being used and having people enjoying it. So that's what I'm thinking at the minute. In terms of facilities, I think maxed out. I'm going to put in a change of cubicle because I'll have to have people coming, but like a sort of natural outdoor one. And I've been told I need to make sure we have a hair dryer for any ladies come and use it. So we'll get that sorted, and that will hopefully be within the next 3 to 4 weeks, and we can go live with people in the area and just put out flyers and Facebook groups and whatnot, whatever we need to do. But yeah, I'm excited about that and really get its own sort of potentially personal profile, like a Google profile as Coorie Spa, and people can then rate it that way and come into the retreat that way.
I think it's a great idea because, as well as, I mean, you're going to limit the use, even though you're expanding the use, because there's only so much that you're going to be able to book it out to people. So you won't be overusing your facilities, but you'll be using them to the level that you planned for originally. And the great thing about that is, as people come in and use it, they're obviously going to see and pass by your other units, and that kind of really helps to bring it front of mind that you've got hospitality, unique hospitality. So when they have friends that want to visit or family that wants to come down and stay, they can recommend your accommodation as a place that they could book. So it's a great way of actually promoting the other side of your business, or the main side of your business, which is your accommodation. So tell me a little bit about the infrared. So I have a club of small business owners, and we get together on a weekly basis to talk about elements of business, from financial setup, setting up, getting the money, and then also to how to do the marketing, how to expand your facilities and amenities and things like that. And we've been talking a lot recently about infrared because a couple of members have got family who aren't particularly well, and they don't like the idea of going into winter. There's in the UK, it's a bit damp, it's a bit dull, they don't get so much sunshine, that kind of thing. And infrared is something that is very much of a health bonus, but there's two types of infrared. So there's the red light therapy, which is very much, from my understanding, is just kind of surface level red light. And then there's the infrared, which is like the sun, but it removes the negative light that we get from the sun, which can cause the cancer and things. But it allows the good parts of the infrared light to go through your skin, and it heats you throughout, but it also heals you throughout. I mean, is that your understanding of it? What am I missing out there? Because it's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, no, it's very fascinating, and you see a lot of places and people online promote this, and it's just a daily routine for them, and it's all about wellness, as you say. It comes into your skin. I think it's meant to like mimic a fever, which brings out like white blood cells, and that sort of rejuvenates your body. So it's really something that's been out. It's quite new, but it's something that more and more people like the sauna. Albeit it's been along for a long time, and more people are using it and seeing the benefits of it. And like a sauna, I think it's 3 times a week, 20 minutes each time. You reduce your risk for a heart attack by 50%. So baby stats like that are coming out, and I'm sure the same is going to come out with infrared. They'll probably have done. So yeah, again, it's all about experience. Like you want to feel good. If you feel good after something, you're going to remember it. So if you're going to feel good after a sulfatation bath, a hot tub, a cold plunge, anything like that, you're going to feel a good experience and good memories about it. So I think business owners these days need to start to think about adding these elements onto their site, because that's what's going to keep their repeat customers going back. That's what they're going to tell their friends at the dinner table, and that's what will hopefully keep the bookings coming in. So if you've got any more tips about what things that I haven't got on site, please let me know, because I would like to add it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a very interesting conversation with Tori and Seth Bolt recently, who are the owners of Bolt Farm Treehouse in America. And they were talking about the types of treatments and accessories and everything else they're bringing into their stays, which partly is to really elevate it so that they can charge more, because they're talking about adding value to the stay, therefore they can charge more for the nightly rate. And also so that they can use it themselves. So they have this idea that, and they book themselves time every week, that they're always in their own facilities once a week. And they have things like a hot tub that actually looks like part of the cliffside. You wouldn't actually know it's a hot tub. It looks like the cliffside, which is incredible. So great views, great hot tub, looks like the cliffside, and then they do treatments with local providers, things like that. So all kinds of, you know, facials and things. But they're not providing it themselves. They're just getting local providers to do it. And and lots of other businesses doing the same, you know, that they're thinking about what do they like that actually makes them feel good, what is the health benefit, and then they look at them bringing that in. So I have to ask the question, do you book out time for you and your family to go and stay in your own spa? And if not, why not?
Once it's just fully booked. No, no, no. I wish I could. I live about 2.5 hours from the site. So I run the site sort of fully automated, let's say, fully hands off in terms of that I don't need to be down there. And my sort of main focus is now just on the marketing side of things, which can be done from afar. And that's sort of been the way it's been from the start, because that's all I could afford. The piece of land was that far down, and I love the area of Port Patrick. I've been a couple of times prior to that, but that site is now just run sort of fully hands off with the cleaning staff, the maintenance manager, and everything's automated. Check-ins, the systems are all automated, and guests are checked in, not really meeting anyone, which I think is the way to go these days. I don't think people like the whole, not everyone, but people just like to get in, get their keys, get into the unit and relax. So I would love to go down more. I keep on promising myself, I just got to go back to the spa and use that as much as I can. And funny, I was thinking as well, where you were saying about what additional could you use. It was the point of the idea of like a mud room as well, which I know there's quite a lot of benefits, depending on the mud you get, I guess, but on your skin, but sort of stop that its tracks, because I think that could be a recipe for disaster. Depends who's doing it and who's not, and who's cleaning themselves after with the white towels and the white robes. But
Yes, yeah.
yeah, maybe I'll go down and try and have a go at me doing it personally the month and seeing if that can work.
Yeah, I think you're right. That could be a real recipe for disaster. I'm sure
Yeah,
everyone would
yeah.
love it, but I don't think your cleaners would like it.
No,
So
not at all.
I've got to ask then, as you manage most of this remotely, I mean, what kind of tools do you use that you find the most helpful in that process in terms of allowing guests to gain access in and out during the times that they've been booked? And as you said, you've got automated check-in processes and things like that. What have you used tools wise to help you relieve you from the burden of having to be there all the time, other than staff?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sort of software wise, it's like a PMS system, project management system, and had one that we used for a long time. Just switched to one called Muse, and worked just learning the ropes of that. But it seems like it sort of had a lot more integrations in it. But the whole aspect from when somebody books through the website to then obviously getting their booking information, their check-in time, and we have like follow-up messages, emails, we have follow-up WhatsApps, just to see if you would like that a package, would you like early check-in rate checkout, and again, it's all automated where they can pay on a book on a payment link, and it updates their booking, and whilst they're staying, we would send a follow-up email, or after they leave, we would then send a few emails to see if they would like to come back with discounted, all sort of the general stuff, really, and trying to keep it as automated as possible, but not like robot automated, but like personally automated. And from that, we just do a lot of marketing through WhatsApp, right, which I think there's a massive scope for. I think it's not as big as it probably could or should be. Email marketing is obviously still very popular, but WhatsApp marketing is massive, because I think the open rate on emails is 18%, and the opening rate of a WhatsApp is like 95%. So if you have a trusted WhatsApp provider, like your own Coorie Retreats WhatsApp, and it doesn't look like spam or somebody trying to take your information, obviously you need to build that trust, but they've provided the information they're happy to be marketed to, then that's the sort of route we're going down. And it seems to be, yeah, certainly the best way in terms of getting opening rates, and you can send certain links and videos to them. So that's on the booking side of things. And then we use a system called Go High Level. And that is where all emails, WhatsApps, Facebook messages, LinkedIn messages, TikTok and Facebook all play into one system. So instead of having 6 different logins, you have one login and you can speak to all guests there. And it sort of saves a lot of time, and it's a lot cleaner and you don't miss as much. So that's really been good. And just trying to keep that as sort of at the forefront of our mind whenever we're speaking to guests, like where they're coming from and who they are. But yeah, those are the 2 main systems, and everything's working really good and really hands off. And then the cleaning side of things, the cleaners have logins to the PMS system where they can see cleans and packages, and everything's automated that way in terms of what kind of checking out and checking out. If they've got a pizza package, romantic package, birthday package, spa package, whatever it must be, they'll have that instantly. And it's just like the sort of life cycle of how the business is operated now.
Mm. So how do you onboard your staff? Do you have to put them through the training for those particular systems so that they understand how it works? Because not everybody who is maybe in hospitality is happy using those automated services when maybe they're a provider of a changeover and things like that. I mean, how have you managed to overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, each obviously has, as I said, we switched to Muse quite recently, so I'm learning that as well at the minute. And no one likes change. It's everyone pushes against it, and it's just the way we're all built to think. But once you see it working, and once you see it actually doing what you were promised, and how it can save you time, it's well worth sort of investing in. And at the end of the day, everyone wants their time back, so everyone wants to have more time, and
Mm.
these systems give you that. Training wise, there's certain, depending on who you go with, that they might have their own like training library that you can follow. Obviously YouTube, ChatGPT, whatever, and train what each system, or can train you from each system, because it'll have the information in the background. And so it's just really how much effort you want to put in to sort of save yourself in the long run. From now, put the effort in now, and you'll save time in the future is the way I see it. So
Mm.
that's how it's working. And from the cleaning side of things, again, they have the calendars, and there's not much training needed on their side of things. It's just a live calendar with whatever they need. And that's how we sort of operate at the minute, and it's going great.
Mm. I've spent a lot of time with Go High Level, and I know that it's got this incredible number of bonuses and positives for a business owner, but it can be technologically quite difficult to wrap your head around unless you're technology minded, let's say. And yes, I think these tools are really helpful, as you said, particularly if you are trying to make the guest experience better. You've really got to use technology to do that. I mean, had a discussion not long ago with somebody who said, no, AI, no, it shouldn't happen in hospitality because hospitality is all about one-to-one connections. And while I do absolutely agree with that, and I don't dispute that whatsoever, there is still this need because people want to have an instant response, even if it's midnight, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and they just so happen to be up with the baby, or they're up early because they're about to go off to work and they want to send a message about their stay, and they want an instant response, or they've got a query about their booking and they want an instant response. And it's those times, I think, where AI and the automated systems can really help to enhance the guest experience, take the pressure off the owner. The guest feels completely looked after. The owner feels like they're not running around like a headless chicken trying to answer all of these things. And so I think it's a win-win for everybody. And I think that's the kind of AI that's really important. And those are the automations that are really important to kind of embrace. The other AIs, which are, completely writing your emails out to messages, your email messages out to your guests isn't necessarily the best. It's good to have some level of personality in there from the owner and things like that. And so what are your views on all of that, the AI systems that are now available to hospitality hosts?
Yeah, it's a never-changing sort of landscape, isn't it? Really, it is good, as you say, with those sort of FAQs, or somebody's got an issue with how do I turn on a light or a hot tub or the shower or whatever it must be. If that can be automated quite quickly and it's quite a simple, this is how you do it. There's no reason not to do that. I think like the mark AI from a visual standpoint in terms of people like altering the way things might look and photos online and stuff like that, I don't like too much. I think that's not giving a true reflection of how the site might be, or um how the landscape might be. So when I see stuff that's been altered and it's not like that in real life, I don't think that's a good use of it. But I think from a guest standpoint, communication wise, it's as long as you, let's say, teach the AI the way you want it to be taught, and it comes from your own person and the way you speak and the way you see the site being and the way you want to speak back to guests. I don't see an issue with that. And I think the guests aren't there to sort of speak to you per se. They're there to experience the site and what's in the site. And that's totally away from the phone, hopefully. So if I can answer the questions with AI as quickly as possible and get them booked in as quick as possible, add a package as quick as possible, whatever it needs to be, and and it's all seamless, then it gives them, again, more time to have experience instead of being on the phone or texting constantly and somebody takes 10 minutes to text back. I think that's just a positive in this world. Um, and yeah, to me, it's just really the big, not worry, but the thing I don't like as much as if they're all doing like photos, you don't know what's real, what's not real these days too much. When you see like, you can even
Yeah.
see like my face, or are you an AI at the minute? Who knows?
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
it's incredible how that's changing, and that's the bit I wouldn't like to see come into the glamping industry,
Mm,
where people might have a cabin and then they tell AI to make it have all these features outside it, and people might book, and they turn up just a cabin with no features,
mm.
is which I think is the worrying side of it, which I haven't seen much of, but just don't know.
Yeah, well, hopefully people realize that to raise expectations too high and then people are
Yeah.
disappointed when they arrive will absolutely end up with loads of bad reviews, and they'll just be completely and utterly destroyed online by people who are expecting more. So hopefully that's always going to be the case, that people won't misuse it, but they will use it in a way that helps to make them more efficient and a better service for the guest. I think that's key, isn't it? Making
100%.
the service better. But that, hopefully that will be the way. I know that it's could be quite tempting for some who don't have quite such strong scruples, that they might end up using it and misusing it, but hopefully not. I think guests always vote with their feet, and they will walk away from a business that doesn't use it in the right way. So as long as we're using it in the right way, we'll have guest bookings, and those guest bookings will increase. And also the service for the guest will increase and improve as well as it goes forward. So there's some interesting changes going on in the industry at the moment, from some businesses experiencing great growth and strong bookings, and other businesses not experiencing quite the same level of positivity. There's definitely ups and downs, and I suppose a little bit of a lack of confidence because of what's going on in the wider world view, with the economies and, things happening in different countries, that kind of thing, which always seems to erode confidence levels. So are your views at the moment of the industry in the UK and what's happening across the board with glamping? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's still quite an exciting time for glamping. I mean, obviously, post-COVID, everyone wanted to get outside, and I feel that's when the boom happened, obviously, with the glamping. I do think you were saying, obviously, there's a few sites that are struggling. I think it's just sort of a natural selection process of whenever people up their game in an industry, it's the ones that don't try and up it with that everyone else are going to get left behind. And that's just where people need to either come in and buy their sites out and develop them up if that's possible. The owner might be willing to sell it. I've got a meeting tomorrow looking at this site of guys in Spain, and it's sort of near that exact sort of situation. That I would. He's only on one platform at booking.com. He doesn't have his own website. He doesn't have social media, and it's like I'm trying to say to him like this is Coorie Retreats. This is what it could be like. Obviously, I don't want a competitor, but it just needs to get up to a level that people want to come to it. So that's sort of what I'm doing at the minute. I'm trying to actively do and find these seats, which could benefit me, could benefit the owner if they're wanting to get out and they're not getting the bookings to sort of cover themselves. And that's just the way I see it going. I think it needs to just constantly develop, constantly be at the top of the game, always just constantly think of the guest and what the guest wants. As 10 years ago, guests weren't that much into wellness. Now they are. So 10 years from now, they might be into something totally different. It's just always trying to keep the finger on the pulse of where that's going and change your site as you see fit. And again, it's still the guest is always right. The guest is first. So that's the way I always look at it. But I'm very, very positive with the glamping industry in a whole. I think it's where everything's going. City centre breaks and people are going out to bars and stuff like that. It's still there, but definitely not as much as it used to be. Having sort of this whole concept of no phones, I think, is going to be a massive thing in the next year or two. You go to actual like hotels or glamping sites, and you don't have Wi-Fi, or you leave your phone at the reception of the hotel, or you leave your phone locked in a cabin. Somebody there's a wee lockbox or something like that. I think this is going to be the next sort of experience and the next sort of getaways that people will want, because the ones that are coming in 5-10 years from now have just been glued to their phones, and they'll pay for experiences away from it, which is something that I'll hopefully look at not too soon in the future, because it's a bet for everyone, whenever you're off your phone, to be honest. And that's where I think that's going to people pay to be off their phone in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting you're highlighting there. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know where this is going. And yet we are in probably one of the biggest times of technological change that we've ever known. This is akin to the Industrial Revolution when that happened, and the amount of change it's going to bring. So in 10 years' time, I mean, everything's going to look very, very different, isn't it? And from my perspective as a business owner, I couldn't possibly advise myself or others on what's going to be happening then. But it's very important to stay one step ahead and to be part of the flow of where it's going, and to be paying attention, staying alert and adjusting and tweaking as we go, as you also mentioned. And I think that is key for every business in every industry. But the positive thing I suppose I'd like to mention is, so part of my day job, which is being conference director to, or co-conference director to the Glamping Show Americas, we had a guest on stage very recently. He was a Microsoft, well, he was a technological wizard who sold his business to Microsoft. That's how good he was. And he was now in hospitality, and he was in hospitality, more specific, unique hospitality. So along what we're doing, which is experiential, because he said he felt it was the industry that was going to be the strongest in the future, because there is always going to be that need for that unique and individual attention that is very important for hospitality. That's what people go for. That's what they pay for. That's what they want. And so that's what we'll be providing. And so his view is, no matter where things go with AI technology in the industry, there will always be a place for hospitality, and unique hospitality that makes people feel very special. So I think that's a really nice thing to hear when you're in the industry and you're being maybe concerned by the news you're hearing, the things you're
Yeah.
understanding, is happening out there, and you hear that someone who was in AI, who was in a very high level technology industry, has moved to hospitality because he feels that's one of the safer places to be. So for me, I'm celebrating. I've got my arms out. Yay! Brilliant. I mean, that's fabulous. So, yeah, I hope that's good news for you and also for anyone else who might be listening. But if somebody wanted to find out more about you and what you do, where would they go to do that?
I've got LinkedIn, Eamon Heggarty, on LinkedIn. I post there semi-regularly, but just all things glamping, and I just love it. So I'm very much in the industry and love talking about it. And then if you want to come and check out Coorie Retreats, is coorieretreats.co.uk. And you can check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or our own website, and it's COORIE Retreats.
Brilliant. I will include all of those links in the show description. And I know people will reach out to you if they want to talk to you more about anything you've shared today. And thank you for your time and sharing your inspiration. It's fantastic to connect face to face again, even though we met at the Glamping show recently. But oh my goodness me, my addled memory and my jet lag is playing
Yes,
with
yeah.
my mind. But so
Good
brilliant to
pleasure.
connect again. It's great.
No, it's been an honor. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, I'm excited to see where you go with this podcast and the industry as well. So it's
Yeah,
exciting times. Thank
it
you.
is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you again.
See ya. Bye bye.